The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, putting the focus on all the Borders clubs, including the East League teams from the area. And joining me as usual is Robin Purdy. And we start as always by going through last weekend's results. We'll start with Currie 36, Hawick 31, which I think was always going to be a close match on that one.
That always looked like it was going to have a tight look about it. Currie were going to win a game eventually after 3 losses at the start of the season. Unfortunately, it's been against Hawick. So, yeah, Hawick, they now are a team that could do to buy a win from somewhere.
They're staring 3 defeats in a row, and I can't remember the last time I said that.
Oh, yeah, certainly. In all the time I've been doing this, that's not been the case. So, yeah, but that's the nature of the beast this season.
Another close one, of course, was Glasgow Hawks 37, Kelso 33. There was a red card on debut for young Nairn Moncrief. I spoke to his dad, Mark, yesterday. He was absolutely gutted. It was one of those spear tackles that went kind of wrong.
Yeah, and there's no much margin for error. I believe, or I'd heard some people say it was a wee bit contentious. It could have been a yellow, but it's turned out to be a red, and that's never going to help the cause. And yeah, that was another game, Stuart, that had that look about it that it could go either way, and obviously it's went the way of Hawks. But I think Neil Hinnigan mentioned in his post-match comments that 2 points on the road, anywhere on the road's not an absolute disaster.
And you kind of feel for the lad as well, young 17 or 18-year-old going in with his debut. You can imagine the adrenaline pumping through. Come on and get red carded like that with a spear tackle. It's something that he'll always remember his debut, probably for the wrong reasons. But I was talking to his dad, as I was saying, and it's all experience, isn't it?
Absolutely,
to take through for the future.
Yeah, I was just going to say exactly that. In the fullness of time, it's not helped Kelso get 4 or 5 points on Saturday there, but in the fullness of time for his development, it's it's a good way to learn. It's adult rugby now. It's the Premiership. There's some experienced operators in there, and yeah, for his development, then yeah, it's maybe not a bad thing in the grand scheme of things.
And on the plus side, fantastic to see these youngsters coming through constantly, not just at Kelso, all the clubs.
Yeah, it's a facet. It's a new facet of this season. These academy lads playing some weeks, not being able to play some weeks. I'll touch upon it when we come to Melrose, for example. But yeah, there are some people that say, well, it's sort of skewing the league and sporting integrity and all that kind of stuff. But there's the other people that have been banging the drum for long enough about young lads have to play rugby at the end of the day. So yeah, I think it can only be a good thing.
And you're certainly one of those people.
Oh yeah, I think I'd be a wee bit aggrieved if, hypothetically speaking, Duhan van der Merwe was available for whichever club he's
Melrose.
Melrose, so if he was to rock up and play, it's hypothetical, but you're then starting to talk about sport and integrity. But yeah, these young academy lads, 18, 19, some of them maybe even 17, yeah, they have to play rugby, and the A teams and the academy games are maybe going to start to take shape from here on in. But yeah, if they've not got a game of some kind of that nature on a Saturday, then the Premiership's where they need to play.
The third game was Heriot's 36, Marr 14, which looks pretty convincing. It was in the end, but Marr were 14-0 up on that one.
Yeah, seem to have given Heriot's a bit of a fright there in the first half, certainly. But yeah, Heriot's have obviously come out possibly a bit of a rollicking at half time, and yeah, they've hit their straps in the second half, and they've taken the 5 points from that game at the end of the day, and Marr leave with nothing.
Now, the Musselburgh Melrose game was interesting up to half time. 13 apiece, they went into the sheds, and then Melrose scored 38 points in the second half unanswered.
Yeah, that's a brilliant result for Melrose. We've spoken about the fact that the first 3 games of the season for Melrose were a wee bit of a free hit given how the fixtures fell, but this is that Musselburgh was the start of a really big 4 weeks. Now you can't ask for better than going away from home and coming back with a full 5 points, a convincing win for Melrose and a brilliant win. And just what we touched upon there, they are making the best use of what they've been given in terms of the draft. Harry Morris, I believe, is playing exceptionally well, and looks like young Blythe Lafferty's playing out of his skin. A hat-trick, I think, in the second half on Saturday. Indeed. So yeah, Melrose will look to make the absolute most of the availability they get of those players going forward.
Ayr went to Philippaugh and they were up against Selkirk. Selkirk were leading 7-5 at half-time, which was a fabulous performance. Again, Ayr too strong at the end. And I think this is the thing, it's the second half performances, it's when the club sides, if you like, start tiring and the fitness really does show and the skill levels go up.
Yeah, that's it. It's the skill levels in the latter part of the game that come from not being tired and come from the fitness, so by all accounts Selkirk got stuck right into Ayr. Selkirk went at it almost full strength, whereas other clubs might not against Ayr. So Selkirk have gone nearly full strength. They've got by all accounts stuck right in, but they've still left the game with as many points as Musselburgh did the week before. So that's just where we are, Stuart. I think with the top three now are really from here. We've spoken about it'll take 4, 5, 6 games for the for the dust to settle this season. But yeah, I see the top three now, what I consider to be the top three in this league, and we're really starting to pull away from here. But yeah, by all accounts, Selkirk have given that a really good crack, and they've taken nothing from the game. The opposition have taken the full 5 points. But I think Selkirk probably head into this Melrose game with even more confidence than they had before their game, if that makes sense. And that's just where we are this season. You can get 33 points to 12 put on you, and it's still deemed to be a potentially good result.
Absolutely.
And I don't think they've picked up any injuries of note from it as well, and that's as much of a win as anything for me against there.
Well, we'll hear from Sesh later on the injury situation, if that is the case, which I'm pretty sure it is. The other match was played on Friday night 7 days ago, and it was Watsonians 45, Embrackie's 5. We always thought the Watsonians with home advantage would probably get through that one, particularly as they gave Ayr a bit of a tough time as well when Ayr went up to Marr side. But I wasn't ready for the margin of 40 points.
No, I didn't see the margin coming either. I did think Watsonians would win it, but and Edinburgh Accies have made a really good start to the season. But I think that's just where we are now, Stuart. Watsonians have maybe started a wee bit slower than Ayr and Heriot's. Ayr have beat Watsonians, but Watsonians have bought. They look like they've got a few boys back of Super Rugby standard, and I see them kicking on from here. A bit of a statement win. That one for me.
Let's have a look at National 1 then. Dundee 17, Gala 27. A good win on the road for Gala. Any win on the road has got to be a big plus.
Massive win in this division where it's 10-3 going down, but it's not. It's probably 7-3. So if Gala, spoke about it before, Gala, if they can win their home games and pick up bonus points here and there on the road, but let alone picking up a win like that, that's a great result for Gala. And all of a sudden Gala are 3 from 4, and we're I'm not talking about them in the same vein as the GHAs and the Stirlings and the Glasgow Accies, but maybe I should be.
They did go up to GHA and got absolutely thrashed, but that seems to be the case now, doesn't it? Because this next result was, I would never have predicted this. I don't think anyone would. I don't think GHA would have predicted that it would end GHA 60, Stirling County 22. To me, that is, and we've had a lot of surprises this season, that tops them all.
That's in a league of its own in terms of surprises. If it had been 23-22, for me, that still would have been a monumental shock. I bet that, as National 1 goes, that's seismic, and that really gives Stirling something to think about, because not only is it 3 down, it's only 1 up. Now, if GHA keep picking up the 5-pointers, then there's a crunch match at Bridgehaugh later in the season. But 60 points to 22. I mean, wow, that Gala only conceded 59.
I can see us going to Bridgehaugh for that one, can you?
Oh, possibly, yeah. Well, if as you'd imagine, everything will play out as thought in the meantime, with GHA and Stirling picking up an awful lot of 5-pointers, possibly 5-pointers everywhere from here on in until they play each other. That's got the look of a title decider about it, even this early in the season now.
Right, Glasgow Accies 33, Biggar 28, which another one I think which did go to form. Yeah,
I think so. Biggar, that's a better looking result for Biggar, albeit they lost the game, but they lost at home to Peebles last week. But Glasgow Accies march on in third position there. They look the third force for me in this league. So that's a good result for them. But Biggar won't be too disheartened by that, I wouldn't have thought.
Now, you were at the Jed-Forest Highland game. That was our commentary game. 27-21. It ended with a Jed-Forest win. They were going really comfortably as well. 18-3. Lots and lots of chances. The territory possession probably off the scale as far as Jed's concerned. But what came through, listen to the commentary, was Jed were making so many basic errors. It could have been a cricket score.
Oh yeah, Jed started the game brilliantly. First 10 minutes, then at sort of 20 minutes to half an hour, going through the phases, playing their structures. It really was impressive, and they had Highland on the ropes. You know, they were punching holes, Rory Marshall, Ben Fotheringham, etc. But Highland hung in there, and they got themselves in the fight. And they've got some good players, you know, the big winger Magnus Henry, for example. He's a real danger man, and they just managed to claw their way back into it. And Stuart Johnson, their coach, has spoke about, you know, 18, you know, not being able to get anything more than maybe a 40-minute performance. It was a bit like that on Saturday. They dropped off significantly for parts of the game, but to their eternal credit, and they displayed a big amount of character in those last few minutes to eke their way up the park. And it was a brilliant try by Lewis Young to finish it off and get them over the line. And yeah, massive win for Jed. 4 points. They'd have been hoping for 5, let's be honest, but a massive 4 points given what they've got coming down the track in the next 2 weeks.
And Peebles, after on the first day of the season having to go to Stirling County, which is not ideal if you just come up from National 2, but they've stuck in now. They're now actually out of the relegation zone with a home win against Boroughmuir 26-15 and a bonus point.
Oh yeah, bonus points could be absolutely huge. But this almost is going to sound condescending there, and I don't want it to. Peebles have had a brilliant start to the season. They've got 2 wins under the belt. They've got bonus points. They've picked up losing bonus points, and they've played Stirling. One of the Stirling games out of the way, and one of the Glasgow Accies games out of the way as well. Tremendous start by them.
Division 2, of course, our only representative in there now is Berwick. They're sadly at the bottom of the table, and they lost to Preston Lords. This was at the Penny Pit, and of course they had a good run at Penny Pit, winning the cup game earlier in the season, and also, of course, the famous playoff match, which meant that they stayed in National 2. But this time, Berwick, unfortunately, didn't quite get the rub of the green.
Yeah, third time lucky in recent times for Preston Lodge against Berwick at their home patch. And yeah, Berwick just appear to be struggling a wee bit. 3 losses from 3 games, which I'm slightly surprised about given some of the personnel that have come back to the club. A lot of injuries, and that's just luck of the draw. And this league's got a wee bit of a different look about it this season. PL at the top, Stumel at the top, Gordonians sitting in third, and it's the Lasswades and the Newton Stewarts towards the bottom. Berwick and Berwick unfortunately propping things up at the moment.
And so to tomorrow, 2 to start with, involving no Borders sides, Ayr against Glasgow Hawks and Enbrackies against Musselburgh. We said we wouldn't predict anymore, but we can't resist, can we? A couple of home wins?
Oh, I have to, yeah, definitely was going to predict, just get more embarrassed week after week. But oh yeah, if that's not 5 points to Ayr and 5 points to Enbrackies, I'll be pretty surprised. Glasgow Hawks have made a brilliant start to the season, again, in my opinion. They've reacted brilliantly to what was a very poor performance at Selkirk, which is seen in the flesh. So all credit to them. That was a brilliant result they had at Marr, and a good result against Kelso last week. But yeah, this is a different task altogether. And they'll get stuck in, no doubt. But Ayr will, I would imagine, emerge with 5 from that. And Edinbrackies, tough result for them against Watsonians. But yeah, I do see them picking up the full 5 against Musselburgh, who just unfortunately appear to be struggling at the moment.
Enbrackies, of course, after that blip last week at Watsonians, they'll be keen to get the show back on the road at Rayburn Place, and of course against a Musselburgh team that's now rock bottom.
Yeah, Musselburgh one win from 4 games, and they've only got 4 points as well. They've not picked up any losing bonus points or 4 try bonus points, and that in itself could be crucial come the end of the season. And yeah, they just need to find a win from somewhere to give them, as well as the points, just that bit of a confidence boost. They've been in the what you'd call the Scottish Rugby news in recent times as well, so they could just do with something positive happening. But I don't see it happening at Rayburn Place tomorrow, unfortunately.
OK, let's go round the clubs then, starting with Hawick. They're at home to Watsonians. Let's hear from their head coach, and that's Graeme Hogg.
We are looking forward to welcoming Watsonians down to Mansfield Park on Saturday, especially after the poor performance we put in against Heriot at home 2 weeks ago. I know that hurt a lot of our boys, so we're obviously looking for a reaction from that, but obviously from the defeat up at Millennium Park on Saturday. Slow start killed us last week, 14-0 down after 10 minutes. We've looked into the game pretty in depth this week, and when you're missing 30-odd tackles in the first 40 minutes of rugby, you're always going to be up against it. So hopefully those wrongs have been put right in training both Tuesday and Thursday this week, and we're looking for a big performance against a well-drilled team from Watsonians this week. Selection-wise, there's no pro plays available this week, which makes it a little bit easier for us to get our players on the park. So Logan Henry will come back in at 9, Kyle Brunton will come back into the squad as well. And as I say, the big thing that we've spoke about over the last couple of weeks is our pride and what we do at home at Mansfield Park. It's been a fortress for us for a long time, and we want to get that back this coming week. So fingers crossed for a good performance. And we get back on the winning trail.
Well, you mentioned a slow start against Currie. You had a slow start against Heriot as well, and that's certainly something they're going to have to address.
Yeah, he mentioned there 30 plus tackles missed in the first half, and that's most unlike Hawick in recent times. So yeah, but he's identified that, and he's absolutely right. They'll work on that this week, and I don't imagine they'll miss 30 tackles and a half on Saturday. But again, this is a tough one to call, Stuart. Hawick, they won't play as poorly, I would imagine, again, as he said they did against Heriot, 2 home games in the row. But this is the Super Rugby team coming to town, and I see Watsonians winning an awful lot of games between now and the end of the season. This is going to be a tough game for Hawick, but we said that against Marr a couple of weeks ago as well, and they absolutely blew Marr away. So I see it being closer than it was against Heriot. But, it's a toss of a coin, this one, for me.
Well, it's been a topsy-turvy load of results, of course, with Kelso beating Watsonians' first game of the season. But you've kind of seen Watsonians grow and grow in this past few weeks.
Yeah, you're right, Stuart. They have improved as the weeks have gone on, it would appear. And yeah, it's going to be a tough game for Hawick. And if I really had to come up with a call for this one, I can just see Watsonians shading it. But Hawick have already got 4 bonus points this season, 2 try bonus points, 2 losing bonus points. And if Hawick get beat on Saturday, I can see them getting a couple of points from it as well.
Heriot versus Currie, and on form you'd think they should be too powerful for Currie, but Currie have got a win under their belt now. They'll want to back that up and probably take heart from the fact that Marr put 14 points on Heriot at Golden Acre last week, again early on. Yeah,
they can definitely take heart from that, absolutely, and I think they'll take a lot of heart from their own win against Hawick. Currie looked to be a bit stronger than they were in the early weeks. Bain is available now, and their number 8 they picked up from Stirling, who is always, he's always been a good player, but he's really starting to shine in a Currie jersey now. So yeah, I think Currie will be a banana skin game for the Ayers and the Heriots and the Watsonians. But yeah, I do see Heriots coming away with this one, Stuart.
Marr against Kelso up next, and Kelso have tasted defeat in their last 3 games following their win against Watsonians on the first day of the season. Director of Rugby at Kelso, Neil Hinnigan.
We travel through to Fullerton Park on Saturday to face Marr, one of the very, very toughest away trips of the season and one of the longest. So a big task ahead. We have a lot of positives to take from last week. Scoring 33 points and getting 2 points out of the match was really positive, but to concede 37 was a big issue for us, and something we need to put right if we're going to win games. If you score 33 points, normally that'd be enough to win the match. So defence is key this week, the key work on. Players availability, well, there's nothing really new to report coming in the way. We've picked up another couple of knocks, so could be missing a couple more players. Also, Archie Barber and Angus McGregor are involved on Friday evening with the Edinburgh A squad, so well done to them and good luck to them. So yeah, there's lots of things going on that are maybe not just quite going our way at the moment, but you got to keep going, you got to keep trying to progress. And last week was certainly a much improved performance from the week before against Selkirk. So if we can get another good showing on Saturday and pick up some points in a tough place to go, that would certainly set us up for going forward from there.
A few things about Kelso, of course. Obviously they're coming back off the back of 3 losses, but they've been very close losses. They've picked up points, as Neil mentioned there. But also when the fixtures came out at the start of the season, we were all looking, and you in particular, at their first 4 matches, thinking they are all very winnable. They were very winnable. Unfortunately, they were just a couple of points shy. And so the table doesn't lie, but they have it in them. They just have to get that confidence and certainly that win back again.
Yeah, it's the fine margins, isn't it? And they're exactly the same. It's like they've got 1 win, they've got 8 points by virtue of the fact that they've also got 4 bonus points as well from those close encounters that you mentioned, and they've clearly got tries in the locker. Kelso, yeah, this is a really tough one to call, because Marr have not set the header alight this season as well. So Kelso can go through there. Can they win this game? Absolutely they can, but yeah, it'll take a good performance and it'll be an absolute dogfight.
Melrose against Selkirk, another tasty derby to look forward to at the Green Yards. Melrose top-ranked Borders teams at the moment. Selkirk never fazed by an away day. And let's bring in Melrose co-head coach Scott Wight, who was, of course, former head coach at Selkirk.
Coming off last week up at Stonyhill, great 5 points for us. Obviously really important in terms of these games with teams round about us at the moment, in terms until we get through a few more games and the league kind of settles down and we see who is actually where, because we're still at crossroads that everybody seems to be beating everybody still. So look, great for us to, looking at ourselves, great for us to get 5 points up the road, which is fantastic. And, it'd be really nice to get our home season up and running after 2 really difficult opening games in terms of Heriot and Watsonians. Selkirk won't be any easier by any stretch of the imagination, having looked at their results in terms of their performances, especially against Glasgow Hawks and Kelso. And I think the way that they actually played on Saturday against there, in terms of, it's probably one of the toughest games that Ayers had this year, and that's credit to Selkirk and what they've done there. No Harry Morris, no Jerry Blythe-Lafferty. They're playing Glasgow A on Friday night, so in pros it gives a chance for Logan Kirk. So Logan Kirk will come in at hooker and Ben McLean will stay at 7. Will Ferry will return from the bench back to a familiar position of 6. So Will Owen will actually be fit after the first 3 weeks he missed last week with fitness. So we're no decided in terms of what we're doing between Will and Jack Dobie. So it'll be Will, Jack Dobie, Logan Kirk, Zen, Angus Weir, Angus Runciman, Will Ferry, Ben McLean, Rory Lindsay. So fairly consistent selection in the pack. A lot of guys have played a lot of rugby there, so it's good to start seeing combinations kind of working now. Halfbacks, I thought obviously the 2 halfbacks that came on at the weekend, obviously 50 minutes obviously changed kind of, I dare say, the way we played, and obviously the tempo, which is exactly what we were looking for. So Dougie Crawford, Struan Hutchison, they came off the bench, so it's going to be really difficult. I thought the way that Bruce and Evan on debut controlled the game and controlled that first 50 minutes allowed us to then open up in the last 30, and the positional changes there obviously. So it just depends what we're looking for this weekend. So that's a topic of conversation this week in terms of around the halfbacks. And elsewhere, Kieran Clark's picked up a niggle, so we're hoping that he obviously comes through, given thought he stepped up to the plate in terms of the goal kicking extremely well, kicked really well to the corner as well. That gives us the opportunity to score those driving lineouts as well. So credit to Forrest, credit to Clarkey. So backs will be Rowley and Declan will be in the centres. Currie will be in the wing, and then it'll be Hamish will be in the wing, and Clarkey will be at fullback. If Clarkey's not fit, Hamish will go to fullback, and Morgan Gay will come into the wing after he's now come back up the road. So that's him now here for the season after playing against Heriot's week 1. So he played for the seconds last week, went really well, scored a hat-trick against Peebles. So it's important we're creating a bit of a culture and a bit of competition for places, which is excellent. And that's exactly why Struan and Dougie obviously ended up on the bench last week. They both, they were away for the week, so it's proven difficult for guys to get back in the team, which is excellent, and which we've said from the get-go. So squad's still obviously missing a few, but it's a game that we're hugely excited for, our first opportunity at Border Derby this year, and we're really keen to kind of keep our season on track in terms of especially given other fixtures and stuff. It'd be great to pick up the win, but we know it's going to be it's going to be really difficult. But one everybody's looking forward to.
Scott Wight with the Melrose take on things. Now Selkirk's with head coach Sesh Henderson.
Team news to start with for this week. Josh Welsh and Aaron McComb will come back into the starting team, and Brodie Allen, after some good performances coming off the bench, will get his first start at 12. Brodie is playing really well, so he deserves this opportunity. coming back off the back of the Ayr game, where we went 40-50 minutes toe to toe with them, played really well, really frustrated them, actually controlled the game at times. However, in the last 20 minutes, we make a couple of enforced errors, and give them space, then they're just dangerous. They're top side, and I think we came away with a lot of credit for that game. Quickly rolling on to this week, another border battle away from home, and I'm pretty sure if we're competitive for the 80 minutes, then we've got to come away with something out of the game. Melrose would be a tough place to go to, but we've shown that going to Kelso, we've got points there, and we need to have that same mindset for this week, and just forget about the emotion out of the border battle, and just make sure we play our rugby, our brand of rugby, with that energy that we've shown the last couple of games. Bring it to the Green Yards on Saturday, and hopefully we'll come away with something.
OK, so Sesh and Scott giving their thoughts. You'll be at the Green Yards for this one. Arguments for both sides to win this one?
This is the hardest game of the weekend to call for me, or certainly in the Premiership anyway, Stuart. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it pans out tomorrow there. So yeah, no pros for Melrose. That that isn't going to help them. Of course, in the two games that they've won this season, Blythe Lafferty by all accounts has been absolutely seismic, and Harry Morris as well has been playing out of his skin, I believe. So yeah, that's a blow. But as Scott said, the likes of Crawford coming back in, the likes of Hutchison coming back in, Will Owen coming back in, that's a big fillip. He played really well in the first game of the season, and of course Big Zen playing against this former team. That's an interesting subplot as well. And yes, Selkirk, Welsh coming back in, Macomb coming back in, no injuries I believe to speak of after Ayr last week. So yeah, it's if you sit the 15 side by side, it's really difficult to call. If the Selkirk that turned up at Kelso turn up at the Green Yards, then it's going to be a tough afternoon for Melrose. But Melrose are coming in from a great away win, and yeah, just too hard to call this one, Stuart.
International one then, and we'll start with our commentary game tomorrow. Gala versus Peebles, both clubs with a fair start to the season. Gala in 4th, Peebles in 7th. Gala 3 wins out of 4. Peebles have won 2. Head coach at Gala this season is Ewen Robbie, and we'll follow that up with the Peebles view from Graeme Paterson.
Yeah, really chuffed with the result at the weekend up at Dundee, and the performance in a whole showed a lot of character. The game, we started really well, exerting a lot of pressure on our line. We eventually went over with Murray Wilson. We continued to exert a fair bit of pressure on the line, but just some individual decisions were costing us for just actually crossing the line. Dundee then had a little purple patch where they broke a length of field and scored, then scored another try not long after that. We got ourselves together a little bit, and some good defensive sets meant that Dundee went in 14-5 up at the break. We had a good chat at half time, just had to start making those team decisions, and we knew, seeing we had been creating chances, that we would get another couple of chances in there. We just had to take them. After a good start to the second half, defensive sets, Ben Gill went in for an intercept try, which seemed to lift us a fair bit. Gavin Fisher went in for another try about maybe 5 minutes later, and then closely followed by Gregor Collins in for another try after Craig Keddy had taken a quick tap and cantered a good 20 metres for us. We finished off with a try with Tim McCavanagh. The last 5 minutes, Dundee threw a lot of stuff at us, and we defended really, really well. The boys worked really, really hard to get an away result, our first away result in the league of the season. So really chuffed with the character. By no means the finished article yet, and there are things to work on, but we are creating a lot of chances to score, and that is a really encouraging thing about our play. Unfortunately, we lost Doug Weir in the first 5 minutes, which really didn't help our cause, but we'll see how he is for this week. Moving on to this week, Peebles, both me and Lewis have coached them before. We know it'll bring. They're very proud players, they're good players, they're playing some good rugby just now, and they're very well coached by Graeme Paterson. We'll be going into this game with confidence, but a total respect for Peebles and what they can bring as a team. We know they'll challenge us right to the final whistle, and they'll bring us some real attacking threats in there. We just need to make sure that we're keeping creating those chances and try and play with a bit of speed and the passion and endeavour that we have done at home in the past. Really looking forward to the game after 2 good nights of training. Bring it on.
So our game against Boroughmuir last Saturday, I felt was a really controlled performance, ending up with a win 26-15 at the end of the game, which is a fantastic result for us, getting those 5 points and denying them anything from the game. I thought we controlled their attack particularly well, shut them down. What we worked on during the week in terms of our tackle adjustment, which impacted massively on our penalty count, and I thought our discipline was huge. And you look at our stats, we've gone from 6 high tackle penalties to 1 during the game, and overall we only gave away 7 penalties in the whole game, which is a great achievement for the guys to really turn that around in 7 days. They only had 2 line breaks, one of which was on their own 5 metre line and didn't really impact on us at all. So again, we've got good outcomes from our defence overall. Attack, we really looked more fluid and more aligned with each other, and guys, working together, and that comes through connections both at training, in games, a fairly consistent selection at the moment because the performances are there. And I think it goes even deeper than that. On Saturday there we had 3 sets of brothers playing, and you add in another sort of set of cousins as well. So there's deep-rooted connections within this squad, within this group of players, which have been forming for years, literally. From tackling each other in the back garden and mucking about to playing high performance rugby, which is great to see these guys coming through, and you can see that bond in the team as well. So fantastic result, a fantastic performance I felt, and certainly our best performance so far over the whole 80 minutes of this season, and we're hoping to replicate that as we look ahead to Gala. Different challenges there. Looking at them, they do also seem to be like a team that's playing for each other. They're really kind of connected as well in terms of how they play, how they go about their gameplay. So it is going to be difficult to break them down and break that spirit almost, and that's what we're going to look at doing and implementing some tactics that we'll use in terms of Saturday to try and get that next win, and that would obviously give us a huge boost of confidence getting three wins on the bounce. But Gala will be confident as well. They've had a really good run of results, and I'm sure Ewen will have his team ready and prepared for our challenge. Selection wise, as you would expect, after 2 wins, it's very, very similar. William Napier has will have a late fitness test on a shoulder knock that he picked up against Boroughmuir, so we'll look at that. Got cover there because John Gray's back as well, so he would come in to replace him if need be. In terms of other changes to the starting lineup, Jack Harrison will start at scrum half. Thought he had a impressive display off the bench. He's obviously just come back into the game the last couple of games in terms of recovering from injury, so he's had 2 shots off the bench. Having seen his performance on Saturdays, he's earned his place back in the team to lead them, which will be great to have him back, and I'm sure it will give the guys a boost as well to have the club captain back starting and impacting on the field. Back row is a real competition area for us. Performance both at games and training come into the reckoning. Very keenly contested area of the team for selection wise, and everybody has to give 100%, which I'm sure they all do. However, they need to align their efforts with their performance in order to get a shot and keep that place as well. And the 3 guys that played started last Saturday, they will start again this Saturday. Ewan Murray's got a wee fitness test, and that will hopefully get him through that, and he'll be able to line up on Saturday as well. But the pleasing thing for me is we've got ready-made replacements ready to come in and step into that shirt and put in a performance and see how well they go, hopefully to keep that. It's going to be tough, we know that. Every game is tough in this league, but I keep saying to the guys, go out there, replicate that performance that we had in Boroughmuir, and we'll have a very good chance of winning, which I'm sure we will.
Another close one to call. Gala have home advantage, but Peebles travelling pretty well.
They are, and they've both made, in my opinion, brilliant starts to the season. I'm just looking at the table, Stuart. Gala on 14 points now. If Gala can pick up a win, that'll take them, of course, to minimally 18. Boroughmuir are currently on 6 and they play Glasgow Accies. Dundee are on 3 and Highland are on 2 and they play each other. Gala, if they can get up to 18, there's going to be an awful lot of daylight between Gala and the 3 bottom clubs. And likewise, Peebles, a win for them would take them up to minimally 15. So all of a sudden, there's potential daylight here for these teams in what is going to be a dogfight to avoid those 3 positions. So yeah, both made brilliant starts this season. But if Peebles only concedes 7 penalties again, then they will be right there or thereabouts. But just Gala to shade it and Peebles to pick up something.
Good news for Peebles there. You've predicted a Gala win. But it is interesting, you mentioned about the table, of course, and of course you've got to get away from that relegation zone. At the moment, all 4 clubs from the Borders are out of the Premiership bottom 3, and all 3 clubs in National 1 are out of the bottom 3. So if they can just increase that gap, and it's so much easier and it gives you so much more confidence if you're looking down at the teams rather than trying to struggle your way out of the relegation zone.
Oh, without a doubt. And we've sort of spoken so often in the first few weeks about this league of jeopardy, this National 1, and it, potentially it's 7 into 3 in all reality. But all of a sudden, after tomorrow, there is the daylight there, and you touched about on the fact that there's border clubs are not in the relegation zone of both the top 2 divisions. Now, if we can get to the end of the season and that is still the case, then that will be, in my opinion, a remarkable achievement.
It certainly will. We have to work on Berwick now, but we'll come to that very, very shortly. Other matches in National 1, Boroughmuir against Glasgow Accies. The phone book says an away win there. Highland against Dundee, as close to a derby as Highland will get this season. Both teams without a win in 4 attempts, so a chance for both to get off the mark there. Probably end up being a draw, no doubt. Stirling County versus Biggar as well. Obviously a big blip last week for Stirling. It's going to be very interesting to see how they respond to that one. They do have home advantage again, but there'll be a few nervous moments at Bridge Hall.
Yeah, or it could be a case of pray for Biggar.
Yeah, the backlash.
Yeah, the backlash. I can see there being a backlash, and I fully expect Stirling to pick up 5 points there. But yeah, Biggar to stick in as they always do.
What about that Highland-Dundee match?
I would fancy Highland at home, given how nuggety they were against Jed and how much they stuck in after what was a very, very long bus journey. And I've seen enough from Highland to suggest that they will start to pick up wins, and I see them picking up a win against Dundee.
The other game in National 1 is GHA against Jed-Forest. A big challenge for Jed against the unbeaten league leaders who put 60 points on Stirling last weekend. Let's hear from Jed head coach Stuart Johnson.
On Saturday there, we got back on the winning trail with a good win against Highland, although scoring at the death. I think we need to be a bit more clinical, and we need to learn how to put teams away. Once we're in front, we were 17-3 up at just before half time, and then let them get back into the game to go 18-17 in front. So things to work on, but the good thing is we were creating a lot more opportunities than what we did against Gala. We just if we finish these opportunities off, then we'll be well in front, and we will put teams away early. Coming up this Saturday, it'll be a very tough game up at GHA at Braidholme. They had an astonishing win against Stirling at the weekend, putting them away 60 points to 22, and obviously they're a dangerous side, beating Gala by 50 points a couple of weeks ago as well. So look, we need to be on it on Saturday, and as I said there, we need to be more clinical when we've got ball in hand, and we need to just tighten up defensively a little bit as well. Reasonably settled side from last weekend. Unfortunately, Robbie Douglas and Grant Paxton are this week, so there's opportunities there for a couple of people to come in and stake a claim. But apart from that, as I say, reasonably settled squad.
Well, Jed haven't really fired yet on all cylinders, and certainly not for the full 80 minutes. But I think you saw enough last week to suggest that if those balls were going to hand and they were creating their chances and doing something about it, they could actually go up to GHA with a free hit and cause a few problems.
Oh yeah, Jed can score 4 tries on a day against anybody, such as the personnel, particularly in the back division when you consider the young twins who are both playing really well at the moment. There's plenty of firepower there. So yeah, they played okay against Highland after starting the game strongly. But yeah, you mentioned there, Stuart, it's a free hit for everybody now. This season going to GHA appears to be a free hit, and if Jed can come away with anything from that 1 point, then that's a real good result for me.
Well, National 2, not a good sight at the moment to see Berwick at the bottom with no wins from 4, and they take on Lasswade at Scrimmerston tomorrow. Here's head coach Paul Pringle.
So Saturday past we visited Preston Lodge for the second time this season. As per the last game in the Cup just a few weeks ago, they opted to go down the hill in the first half, which we know was a fairly big advantage. The first half was just, as you would expect, waves of PL attacks. We had a couple of breakouts. And actually, with some great defending, bodies on the line, we turned 12-6 down at the half. So half-time talk was very much about how we were in the game, what we wanted to do in the second half. And that started pretty well. We had a penalty within the first minute, 12-9. And at that point, I really couldn't see us losing. But unfortunately, when attacking the try line, we gave away it was a bit of a silly penalty, to be honest. But as we did with Stumel, we just compounded those errors. So it went from that penalty to a penalty from the resulting line out to a penalty from the next one. And then before you know it, they've scored an easy try in the corner. So that kind of knocked the stuffing out of us. It was a bit of a tough one to take. We then, from there, just at the breakdown seemed to give away penalty after penalty. There was a late rally. Jack Dalrymple came on, got a try. And then we had probably about another, I would say, a couple of good opportunities to score, which we butchered. So just those critical errors again at key moments in the match. And unfortunately, ended up 25-14. We lost the match. As with the previous weeks, we had another 2 injuries. So Garen Goodfellow has injured his left knee, but it looks like he's going to be okay for this week. James Grieve also injured his knee, but unfortunately he's not going to be available this week due to that. So it's a tough pill to swallow. That's 4 games in now. We've had 6 lower leg injuries. Some obviously were a lot more serious than the others. We'd found out that Nathan Melrose will actually be out for the season. He needs a knee reconstruction. So we wish him obviously all the best with that recovery. For me, a lot of it is probably the change in tackle height. So guys are going a lot lower. We're seeing a lot more chop tackles. If there's no arms involved, these can be quite dangerous. So I think that's just a reflection of where we are with that. Looking forward to this week, we know the Lasswade match is going to be really difficult. If games that we have against these guys, there's generally a couple of points in it. So we're expecting a tough battle. In terms of team selection, so Jack Williamson will continue on at hooker. We've got Cam Wills, who will be coming into the back row with James out. Cam had a really good game when he came off the bench last week, so we're expecting big things from him. And then in the backs, I'd say it's largely unchanged with most of the same personnel. So, yeah, it'll be a tough day, but we're having a family fun day at the club. Ali Greaves organised, so we're expecting a big turnout. There'll be a lot of the minis and middies there. So, hoping for a good day for the club, and hopefully we can get the right result.
Lasswade coming off the back of 2 defeats at home to Gordonians and GHK. There's been some tight battles between these two over the past few years. Berwick could certainly do with a win though.
They certainly could. And Lasswade, it does appear to be winnable because Lasswade are, on the face of it, not the force that they've been in recent seasons. They're only 1 win so far this season, sitting on 5 points. So yeah, if Berwick can get a win here, then that'll close the gap on Lasswade and potentially see them leapfrog Newton Stewart. But yeah, they just need a win from somewhere. But yeah, they can definitely get one this weekend, Stuart.
Other games tomorrow in National 2, Falkirk against Stumel, GHK versus Newton Stewart, and Kirkcaldy v Preston Lodge. 2 unbeaten teams in the league, although PL drew with GHK. All those, though, very competitive.
Yeah, it's looking competitive at the top. There's 4 teams there in double figures, and Kirkcaldy, Falkirk and GHK sat in behind them. So yeah, it looks pretty tight at the top.
Well, Rugby Radio is on at 2:30 as usual tomorrow for 3 hours, ending at 5:30 to allow us to get interviews and reaction from coaches and players, which is always interesting to hear so close after a game. So if you're coming back from a game tomorrow, don't forget to tune in and hear all the post-match reaction, league tables, reports. It's a one-stop shop for Scottish club rugby. And so we come to the East League Roundup this week. Ewen Welsh on holiday, so it'll be us taking a peek at how things are going for our local teams. We start with East 1, Langholm at home to Broughton. Here's head coach of Langholm, Craig Hislop.
Disappointing result at the weekend, losing out by 25 points to 7 to Portobello. They'd been beaten the previous week by 75 points, but their team sheet had 9 changes from then, so we weren't sure what we got to come up against. I think if we're honest, some of the boys thought it was going to be a walkover, and we found ourselves 12 points down in the first 10 minutes. Although we recovered, we failed to convert chances we had in the first half. Just shortly before half time, they scored again. So it was an uphill task in the second half, but the boys started to play some good rugby, but didn't deliver any tries off the back of it. Really frustrating, to be fair. So we move on. This week we've got top of the league Broughton coming down to Langholm. Squad wise, we've had a couple of setbacks. Our captain's out with a ligament issue. We lost a guy at training last night to dislocate his shoulder. So kind of regrouping in the camp and checking on availability. But should still have a strong squad which will be capable of beating a Broughton team if we're on our game. So onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Yes, interesting. Portobello getting absolutely thrashed and then turning over Langholm at home. And of course, it's this thing about the East League, isn't it? That when you travel, you get something a wee bit different.
Oh yes, by the sounds of things, Langholm have gone up there and it's been a completely different side to the Porty team that went out the week before. And you're absolutely right, Stuart. You just don't know what you're going to get in the East Leagues. You know, the team that plays at home often looks very different to the team that travels. So yeah, good chance for Langholm to right that wrong this week against Broughton. But yeah, that sounds like a bad one. If a lad's had a dislocated shoulder in training, we wish him well.
Well, into East League 2, and Hawick Harlequins host Trinity Accies, who've lost all their games so far. Quins captain this season is Liam Graeme.
Yeah, on the back of a fairly important win for us against Leith at home last week, we welcome Trinity Accies down to Wilton Lodge Park in what will be a tough game. A team that's recently just came up from East League 3. We've known them, we've played them a couple of years ago when we were down there. And what will be a very tough game, no doubt. Although they haven't won a game this season, we are expecting a very tough game. They'll have a point to prove, trying to get their first points on the board for the season. We are missing a couple of players due to injury after last week's tough game, but hoping to still have a good enough squad to try and get the 5 points at home this week. We hope to welcome back a couple of players who've been unavailable for a couple of games this season. We're just waiting to finalise a couple of players' availability. We're hoping for a strong enough squad to go out there and, as I said, get the 5 points against a Trinity Accies team that will be looking to prove a point in this league, who've obviously failed to get any points out of their games, but they've had some tough few games on the road and at home. So we're hoping to go out there and get another 5 points before we go into a week's break next week.
Well, into East League 3, 2 border derbies. Duns against Earlston up first. We hear from Cammy Hill, head coach of Earlston, on an unbeaten start to the season.
This is a fixture I've really been looking forward to. Obviously, being an ex-player and club captain there, I'm really looking forward to going back as a coach. And I know this is going to be a really tough fixture for us. This weekend is going to be hard. Looking back at some of Duns' results, they beat Medics on opening day. A few weeks ago they ran Hawick Lundeen pretty close for 60-65 minutes of the game from what I've been told. Obviously pretty good defensively, so we're really going to need to be on our game to open that up and hopefully get some points. For us not having a game last week, not ideal in terms of preparation, but it did give us time to get some injured players back after the Edinburgh Northern game, which we've taken a few knocks in, but they're all recovering pretty well. So team selection, same as always though. We've got work commitments, holidays, meaning to make some changes. But thankfully the squad depth we have this season, it makes things a lot easier. And obviously it gives some lads a chance to show what they can do as well. So a few changes in the pack. Linton Brink steps out with a neck injury, which is not ideal. But on the plus side, we welcome back Sam Craig from injury to bolster the front row. In the backs, we're missing Gareth Walker at 9 and Chris Rowley at 10, but we'll have Matthew Gaston returning to slot into the 10 jersey, so that's great to see. And also pretty exciting for the club, we'll hopefully be seeing the debut young scrum half James Fender at some point in the game, which is really good for the club as well. That's another youth player originally from Jed that's came to Earlston and got signed off, so he's looking to get some game time this weekend, so that's really good to see. Here's hoping we can continue our winning start and keep the pressure on Hawick Lundeen.
It's interesting, isn't it, how Earlston have gone through a couple of really bad years finding themselves in East League 3. Duns have done the same, and both of them now trying to get back up the way again.
Yeah, seems to be the case. Stuart, Earlston had a reasonable campaign for sure last year, and while Duns struggled, and yeah, but Duns seem to have improved a bit start of this season. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one this weekend between the two of them. Just one thing Cammy mentioned there, Jai Fender coming in for Earlston. I've been impressed by him when I've seen him play for Jed before, so that looks like a good acquisition.
Yeah, and I mean Earlston have recruited really well this season, haven't they? Yeah,
like I think Gaston's there now as well. He seemed like a decent young player. So yeah, it's a place that players can go play rugby, from the central borders, the Melrose, the Galas, that, if you're not going to get a game there, then then why not go and play for Arleston? Great setup down there.
Finally, in East League 3, unfortunately, the game between Hawick Lindeen and Gala YM has been called off. Insufficient players for Gala YM. We certainly wish all our Borders teams every success tomorrow across the leagues. But that's just about it for this edition of the Friday Rugby Preview. We're on air at 2:30 tomorrow for 3 hours with Gala versus Peebles in National 1, our featured game with Dale Clancy. We've reporters round the grounds as well, and it's going to be another exciting weekend of Scottish Club Rugby. So do join us. Friday Rugby Preview will be back same time next week. But from Robin and me, bye for now.
The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.